Ebusian for her Ghanatube, so a more for snowy Masai so atinase. Makako Blabwa in some and no eddy bro. Ebusian for in some no so and sign interesting. You could see Embra.
Now, back home, there are mixed reactions following the revelation by President Mahama that government has accepted non-Ghanaian deportees from the U.S. While the decision to accept these deportees have been welcomed because they are African migrants and may have no record of crime, there are questions on whether or not government puts the matter before Parliament. This comes in the wake of the Gitmo 3 case ruled by the Supreme Court that the executive had no power to come into an agreement without parliamentary approval. During President's media encounter at the Jubilee House on Wednesday, September 10th, the President reveals that the initial 14 individuals have already been received, most of whom were Nigerians, and repatriated to their country. He also said that there were conversations with Gambian authorities to repatriate their citizens to them. Now, before we interrogate this issue any further, let's take a listen to the President at that encounter.
We agreed with them that West African nationals, were acceptable because all our fellow West Africans don't need a visa to come to our country. So if they decided to travel from US to Accra, they don't need a visa anyway. So if you're bringing our colleague West Africans back, that's okay. And so I think that agreement has been activated, and a first batch of 14 nationals came. Several of them were Nigerian brothers. They opted to go back home, and so we put them on buses, to be able to go back home. One of them was a Gambian who is not as easy. You have to get him an air ticket to be able to facilitate his travel. So what we've done is contacted their embassy to let them know of his presence so that they can facilitate his return to Gambia. And so that's the issue with regards to deportations and arrivals. West Africa has the protocol of free movement, and so any West African is free to come to Ghana and be able to stay for 90 days. And so if they decide to bring them, we don't have a problem accepting them.
Let's now have a quick chat on the back of the security consultant, Richard Kumado, has joined us for a bit more on this. And thank you so much for joining us. Listen, are we comparing apples and oranges, or did government really err in accepting those 14 West Africans?
Okay, so there are three things involved. Number one, the president will not take this decision in isolation or as an individual who is the president, but Attorney General, who advised government on the legal issues, might have an input into this matter in making sure that we are not violating international law, and we are also not breaching the governance structures we set for ourselves in this country. So it would have been proper to hear from the Attorney General and the majority leader in particular, because of the precedents we set for ourselves with Gitmo 2. Point number two, presumably, because they are West Africans and a risk assessment has been done and they do not carry any baggage, we may be waiving the grant for them, and for that matter, we wouldn't take them through the rigorous procedure of meeting the standards we set. Or, due to international pressure and due to convenience criteria, we have agreed that once they are West Africans, they could come and go so that we put our house in order subsequently. So this is my understanding of what has just happened and what the president spoke about. If there are further information to this particular issue, I think the Attorney General, who is the government advisor, and the majority leader who speaks for Parliament predominantly on some of these issues, should be having a bite at it so that we will have a clarity to what has happened.
From a national security point of view, again, we go back to the question as to whether or not we are comparing apples and oranges when we look at the situation of today and the issue of Gitmo 2. From a national security point of view, what would be your response to that?
Definitely, I believe that risk assessment has been done on the people who have come to this country so far, and we haven't heard anything to the contrary. But for Gizmo 2, there has been a whole dozen of them on the part of the Americans, and they were kept at Guantanamo Bay for a number of years under investigation. For this particular group, there were people who were being deported, and if they are deported based on the grounds that they have overstayed their visa, then that makes it a little bit different from a Gizmo 2 person who is charged with terrorism, predominantly in relation to September 11th. And so the differences in their cases will be different. The personalities are different. The geopolitical angle is different. And the determination in terms of international law is also different. So we might be waiving some of the grants for them, but it is also proper that Attorney General who advised government on many of these things must have an input into it before the president agrees with the Americans to bring them to this country.
Richard, I appreciate your insight on the subject matter. Richard Kumado is a security consultant. We've just been talking about the acceptance of 14 West Africans who were deported from the United States of America. Remember, the president has also mentioned that there is repatriation of these foreigners, but of course it sparked a debate over whether or not this issue should have come up in Parliament first for approval before the foreigners were deported into Ghana. You're still here on News Central. Still to come. Now, education in Benyiri in the Sola Tuna Kalba district of the Savannah region is under threat. The Ghana Education Service is here to give the green light for schools to resume. Let's connect now with Savannah region correspondent Christopher Amwako, who's been following this story closely. Christopher, earlier you reported that the GS was set up temporary classrooms for the pupils at the camps. How far with that?
Yes, so Termini, I can say that somewhere last week, the Savannah Regional Director of Education, Bright Lawe, when he visited the affected communities, indicated that GES was setting up education in emergency classroom blocks so that the children can actually have their tuition at the temporal structures. Unfortunately, till date, that is yet to be done, because even though when you go to the solar camp, the land has been cleared already, waiting for them to begin the classes. That is yet to start, because we are hearing that the Interior Minister wants the camp to be closed down. So they are looking at reintegrating the people into their community, since for the past weeks there hasn't been any incidents of fresh attacks. The security on the ground are also indicating that some peace or calm has been restored in the communities, and so they believe that the people should be evacuated or moved back into their communities.
Comment section no with your comments no and the amame mejibre akinkan ni nyina amofefefe mekai obiom se aha eye Ghanatube. So ebusiafo onya subscribe here, please subscribe, hit the notification bell for more updates. And one more of us slowly see makram.